Mama's in the living room watching Judge Judy. I'm in the kitchen eating leftover sushi, and she yells, "Oh, girl, you gotta hear this one." A man was arrested for running a theme park, and when they said, "Where's your license?" he said, "My dog ate it." Oh, you can't make this shit up. Sometimes I wonder if life's just one big cosmic joke. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on a Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on a Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout, "Girl, you gotta hear this one." Mama loves to laugh at how absurd life is, says it's all a comedy and I'm her audience. And I love the way she makes fun of the world. She said, "You'll never guess who's with their girlfriend. It was a man who didn't get us out of the bed. He said, I've been through hell and now I need some help. You just can't make this shit up. You just can't make this shit up." Sometimes I wonder if life's just one big cosmic joke. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on a Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on a Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout, "Girl, you gotta hear this one."
So, it sounds like something that shouldn't be real. However, here we are with criminal charges, because it's the reality for a woman in Texas. She walked in for an IV and never walked out. Now, the owner and the medical director, we'll get to his issues later, are both being charged criminally. Welcome to Texas. Oh, how is everybody doing today? I am warm. You can tell I am sweaty. This is crazy Mondays. Between the hours of like 11 a.m. and 9 p.m., my life gets absolutely batshit crazy. And I don't know what to do with it. But how is everybody doing today? Let's see who we got in the chat today. Heidel, thanks for being my super mod as always and sharing all my links everywhere. Jeffrey, good to see you. The Artemost, how are you doing? Miss Tammy, good to see you. Oh, Gail, and I'm feeling a little rushed because it's the beginning of the month and all my Amazon subscribe and save stuff got here right at 2:30. So I was a little late because I had to get those in the house. Yeah. Y'all know the drill. Snipe Hunter, good to see you. And I'm sorry if I miss anybody, but we have a lot to get to and not a lot of time to get there. So we're going to get straight to the point. Lori, good to see you. All right. And if I missed anybody, I apologize. However, before we get to the details of this case, I want you to think how frequent IV therapy has become. Self-admittedly, I go for IV therapy once a month. Vitamins, nutrition. However, not all IV therapies are bad, but they're popping up everywhere. Because what we're looking at here is criminal in the middle of that shift. It looks at liability, it looks at negligence, and as we've been discussing on my Evidence Through Motion channel, where is the line and accountability? It is just everywhere. So we're going to get to what happened. Then we are going to get into the charges, and we are going to talk about a law that's been enacted in Texas because of this, and also talk about Texas's lack of oversight that I have a personal issue with. in a second. Y'all get my snarky side of Texas. What the freak were you doing for all these years? Because, Hey, Lady Autumn Sky, how are you? And Anaya Print, good to see you too. And Jen Keeps It Real, good to see you. And Stacy, how are you? Everybody's just here today. I love it. All right. So we are going to get into and I just got to move my water bottle out of the way because crazy days call for crazy. My desk is sort of clean, but, and the little is right here. So if you see her, yell at me for anything, she's right here. She's good. She says hi. All right. We are going to get into Law and Crime's article on this because they sum it up pretty well. And because it's Texas, I don't have the actual indictment. However, we do have a press release from a lawyer that we will get into. All right. Spa owner pumped mom full of IV infusion cocktail too quickly and killed her just one day after the woman said owner will make you look and feel beautiful on Facebook. Ooh. So the woman on the left is Jennifer Cleveland. She is the woman who is tragically no longer with us. And the woman on the right is Amber Johnson. She is one of the defendants in this case. It took a Texas spa owner minutes to send a woman who came in for IV therapy, which she administered too quickly and without a license, into sudden cardiac arrest just one day after the client gave her major props on Facebook, according to local officials. The Luxe Med Spa by Amber Johnson will definitely make you look and feel beautiful, wrote victim Jennifer Cleveland on July 9th of 2023. The 47-year-old was allegedly unalived by Johnson on July 10th. And I am going to be very careful with the words that I am choosing because last Friday's stream got demonetized because of, I don't actually know why it got demonetized, but I'm assuming it was the content that we talked about and putting too many YouTube unfriendly words too close together. So because my stream got demonetized, if y'all ever want to send those super chats, or please hit that like button and share this stream so that more people can see this. Because right here. Because right here. So I don't really ever ask for super chats, but because my stream got demonetized, bringing y'all some bad teacher news. Yeah. About that. And I am going to be putting the link to my my widget, there we go, new QR code. Why don't I have this on here? I think Heidel has posted it. It's still up. It didn't get taken down. It's just not able to be monetized. So there's that. So it's still up for people to see if they want. However, it is now free for you, for everybody, for YouTube. YouTube will make money off of it, and I will not see a dime from it. So, they won't tell us because they like making us wonder. And Law and Crime and all the big, no offense to Law and Crime, I love you guys. However, Law and Crime, Fox News, CNN, Court TV, all of these big mainstream media outlets on their channels can say whatever they want within FCC guidelines. Let's be honest there. And YouTube, I have an FCC license. Come on, people. Come on. I have a radio operator's license. Yes, and if you would like to support my channel without giving your money to YouTube, because YouTube tends to be asshole about stuff, there's my Ko-fi link. But if y'all could do me a huge favor and subscribe and check out my new channel. It's not new. I started it last November. I don't really promote it a lot, but this is where both channels coincide because this is my sweet spot with, I love seeing people who screw up medically be held accountable. I'm not hamming it up again. I'm not like certain people who complain when they don't get super chats. I'm not that kind of person. I would like to think. However, the patient received an IV infusion with multiple vitamins and electrolytes in an unsafe manner. We will get to that too, because I have thoughts. Working in a hospital for 6 years, I have thoughts. Leading to sudden cardiac arrest, a known risk when certain medications are given too quickly. The medical board wrote in a 2024 order about Cleveland's death. Let's see. Court documents obtained by Law and Crime show that Johnson was indicted this week by a grand jury on charges of felony unaliving, criminally negligent homicide, manslaughter, delivery of a dangerous drug, tampering with or violating physical evidence, and practicing medicine with no license in connection with Cleveland's death. Unlike a certain woman with too much filler who accused me of practicing law without a license, like, this is what practicing in certain areas of life without licensure, this is what it looks like. Johnson is accused of practicing medicine without a license, causing physical harm to another person, and delivery of a dangerous drug. The Texas Medical Board previously suspended the medical license of Michael Patrick Gallagher, who was acting as the medical director for Luxe Med Spa in Wortham, Texas, where Cleveland died, and outlined what happened. By Law and Crime, Johnson allegedly owned and operated the spa. On the day Cleveland died, Gallagher was more than 100 miles away from Luxe and failed to properly supervise Johnson, who was described by the medical board as an unlicensed individual performing IV treatments, including administering prescription pharmaceuticals, resulting in complications that the Luxe staff were not trained or prepared to manage, resulting in Cleveland's death. They don't go into in this article why he was 100 miles away. His practice, he was an anesthesiologist. His practice was 100 miles away. He didn't even work anywhere near this facility. That's what's interesting. And there is a law that passed in Texas and went into effect last year that addresses this issue, which is my issue with Texas in the first place. Hey, Florida Flipper, how are you? Oh, and thanks for the Cash App like 2 weeks ago. I never thanked you for that. The little must have had my phone when I got it. So, yeah. But I always like to thank people who give Cash Apps or Venmos or Ko-fis or anything. And sometimes when the little steals my phone, I don't get the opportunity to do that. But I always like to let you know it's appreciated. According to the board, Johnson and the staff at Luxe were performing treatments that required medical licensure. Yeah, like IVs. Yet, were no medical license or experienced personnel employed or physically present in the facility when IV therapy was being administered, putting patients at risk, per the suspension orders. On July 10th, 2023, Cleveland received an IV containing vitamin B complex, which is relatively normal, ascorbic acid, which is just vitamin C, cyanocobalamin, it's a B12, and TPN electrolytes. According to the board, TPN electrolyte solution requires a prescription and is known to cause complications due to the potassium chloride in it. TPN is total IV nutrition. I worked in a hospital for 6 years. I am not coming from the place of someone who ordered or was in charge of administering it or anything. However, I had multiple patients on TPN who were unable to eat by mouth, either from cancer, digestive issues, like their digestive system wasn't present due to reasons. However, IV nutrition must be administered or ordered by a doctor, must be have the oversight of a doctor, because that is your only source of nutrition for some people. So, and also my grandmother was on TPN for about 4 months of her life. So, it's yeah, her heart got too much potassium chloride. Yeah. And hey, Diggity Buck, how are you? The board said shortly after Johnson started the IV on Cleveland, she was found unresponsive, leading the Luxe staff to start CPR and call 911. She was transported by paramedics to a regional hospital. Upon arrival, resuscitation efforts continued, and the diagnosis of unspecified cardiac arrest was made. Court documents say Johnson's criminal negligence caused Cleveland's death after she administered TPN electrolytes and other dangerous drugs without having a license. The medical board said Cleveland went into sudden cardiac arrest due to improper administration of the drugs during the unsafe IV therapy. TPN electrolyte solution requires a prescription and is known to cause complications. Luxe did not have any protocols, policies, or procedures pertaining to the administration of IV therapy. The only protocols were not directed at Luxe's personnel regarding the administration of IV. Rather, these protocols were merely used to vaguely inform Luxe's patient of the IV process. She's currently out on $69,000 of bond, and the Texas Attorney General is handling her prosecution. We will be keeping an eye on this. It's just it's just one of those situations that gets you every time. So, at first glance, this looks like tragic medical event, but the deeper you go, the more questions you have, the more questions that come up. And I am always the question answer because I have like red flags or like, flags that go off. And like when I see certain words, especially words I recognize, I'm like, oh, that's not normal. That's not normal. Like, for those of you who don't know, occupational therapy assistant, clinical lymphedema therapist, and or certified lymphedema therapist, and corrective exercise specialist, 6 years in inpatient acute care rehab with time in the ICUs, all 6 of them. So I am not a nurse, I am not a doctor, but I am familiar with a lot of things because when you work in a 700-ish bed hospital for 6 years, you see things. You see things. And you learn things. Honestly surprised it had not happened there before. Yeah, and that's where the negligence, in my opinion, like I said, not a lawyer either. I just find certain things interesting, and this would be one of them. I believe, in my opinion, that's where the negligence comes in because it's not that it's not that this never happened before. It's like it only takes one time of being negligent for something to completely go wrong. And this is where things get interesting to me, like more interesting than somebody's tragic unaliving from an IV. But this should not have happened at all. Just for the record, I am not against IV therapy, doing IV therapy once a month myself. However, my IV therapy, the place I go, is inside of an urgent care. It is owned by doctors. It is run by nurses. Or the one person who's not a nurse that works there is an EMT. Like, and it's inside of the urgent care that is owned by the same doctors. So there is always a doctor on site, and they do pretty much a full medical history, and for some things require you to get labs done at the hospital before you can get certain things done. So why this was allowed to happen anyway is like, this was not a hydration drip. This was TPN. Vitamins are basic things that people get. B12, vitamin C, immunity, sometimes NAD, things like that. But the TP on electrolytes, that has to be ordered by a doctor. The doctor was 100 miles away at his own practice. That's why he's being charged as well, because of the fact that he was not even there. From the sounds of it, she was ordering these medications under his license and administering them without guidance from a doctor. And from the sounds of it, she didn't have a background in medicine at all, not even rehab. Yours is legal, Squid. I don't. And that is where, so from doing my research, there has been LLC, like in Texas, you have to have an LLC, like a professional LLC or something else. And a licensed medical professional has to be the majority owner of the facility. She started an LLC and was the sole owner, proprietor, whatever they call it, according to the paperwork. So there is so many things wrong with this. well, it's not even there goes his practice. There goes his freedom, because he's being charged with just as many, if not more, things than she is. Yeah, too many electrolytes can also cause problems. So it's not just an IV. It's what electrolytes can do to the brain. It's what, it's just, so it's, this hurts my heart because Texas apparently, from the sounds of it, they passed a law. Great. You passed a law. I'm happy for you. But why? I'm very curious on why this law needed to be passed, because some things about this law seem very basic to any other state. However, before we get to that, we are going to get this happened in 2023. It is now 2025. This was released on October 19th, 2023 from her attorneys. And thank you, Reddit, for posting this document. I got this document on Reddit, surprisingly enough. I could not find this document anywhere. Went to Reddit. They don't have the indictment PDFs, but they had this. David Moore represents Amber Johnson in an ongoing criminal grand jury investigation in Freestone County, Texas. Mark White represents the Luxe Med Spa by Amber Johnson on the board related to matters regarding the untimely death of Miss Jennifer Cleveland, formerly known as Jennifer Jo Williams, after receiving treatment at the Luxe Med Spa in Wortham, Texas. There has been much publicized about the incident. We want to take this opportunity to respond to the press and all social media pundits and simply lay out the facts and what the actual evidence shows happened. Tell us, sir, and inform us what your version of the facts are. Jennifer Cleveland was not only a client at the med spa, but was also considered a friend to Miss Johnson. Miss Cleveland even promoted the business through her social media accounts. It is regretful that the incident happened, but there is no criminal liability that can or should be attributed to Amber Johnson. This was released, remember, this was released in October of 2023. So a lot of the facts of the fact that she wasn't licensed at all have not come out yet. Holy crap. And thanks, DR to Most, for the Ko-fi. You are, for the $125 Ko-fi. You just made my week. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you, and we still have to have a conversation because we started talking about something a couple weeks ago that I just haven't followed up on that I need to follow up with you on. So, if she was using his licensure to script administer that IV, that can also be considered license fraud. But the MD knew she was, then yes, the MD is liable as well. It's yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack here. And this is where I wish Texas was just a little bit more open with their documents than they are. I will admit I am not good at FOIA requests. I'm just not good at them. I don't know how to do them. I'm unsure of like who to contact. And the one time I was able to get in touch with somebody in Michigan, she never, like, she said she was going to respond and then never did. So, you know, yeah, well, we figured it out. We speak fluent typo here. Like, remember, I know my audience, some of my audience, they can't see and they don't speak English as their first language. So I speak fluent typo because English is my first language and I still can't get that shit right half the time. So, Amber Johnson has cooperated fully and completely with the ongoing grand jury process, including providing a written statement, recovering evidence, providing surveillance camera video from inside the med spa, and showing the events as they happened and as they were recorded via motion detectors, cameras secure in the IV bag, and locking Miss Cleveland's personal effects in a secure locked cabinet until the police were able to pick up the items. Good, so you didn't steal. Yeah. Yeah. Like this is how you know this is purely for PR. Like, you point out something that has nothing to do with anything that makes your client look good. Oh, she locked up her personal effects until the police got there. Great, so you didn't steal her stuff. Like, do you want a cookie? Like, don't answer that. The following is a timeline of events. June 22nd, 2023, Ms. Cleveland signed a dermal fillers consent form outlining the procedures and possible risk associated with dermal filler injections. This is another thing. This woman did not have any sort of medical background, training, or licensure and was giving people fillers. Something sounds very, very unsafe about that. JKD Buck, we have those Thomas's muffin tops things, and she thinks they're COOKIE. So, we don't actually have cookies in this house, but she thinks a Thomas's like muffin top thing is a cookie. So, you know. Yeah, I walked by about 200 cars last week and didn't break into any of them. Congratulations to me, right? June 22nd, Ms. Cleveland completed an intake and health history where she indicated she was not on any medications, did not have any chronic medical conditions, was not currently under the care of a physician, and had not taken Accutane within the past year, and was not taking vitamins or supplements, and had not previously had Botox, and did not have any medical conditions the staff should be aware of. Fine. Seems relatively normal at this point. June 22nd, Ms. Cleveland received filler, Botox, and a spray tan, as any 47-year-old does. June 28th, Ms. Cleveland received the Luxe IV without incident, along with a spray tan. June 29th, Ms. Cleveland initialed and signed the IV therapy consent, acknowledging she understood and agreed to each statement contained therein. This form outlined the procedures and risks involved and release the service provider and all staff from all liabilities for any complications or damages associated with the IV infusion therapy. See, this one kind of makes me go, huh, I totally understand signing a waiver. Sign a waiver for the gym, signed a waiver for my kid for the gym, signed a waiver for my IV. I get it. However, when you sign a waiver and a release of liability, anywhere on that liability or release or consent form, did it say that your provider is not a licensed medical provider? I'm not a lawyer, but that would be one of the things that I would bring up. Just as a layperson, I'm curious about, like, where does this fall in? You know, it's a botulism toxin. Why, ladies? I don't know. If my migraines weren't as tolerable as they are now, I would get Botox as kind of a double whammy. Helps with the wrinkles in the forehead and also make my headaches go away. So, but, oh, Jeffrey, I don't have it with me. Darn it. Hold on. Let's see. Jeffrey, you're a genius. I think the little took it. She was playing with it this morning. I don't have it. Oh, no. Jeffrey, do you know what I'm referring to? I don't have my can of tallow truth. Because we're talking about Botox. Look, it's going away. The WTF line it's like it's there, but it's not as prominent as before because I've been using that tallow truth every day. Jeffrey, you're a genius. So we will get to that in just a second. F-bomb missing alert. Yeah, it's in my gym bag because I took it to the gym because I used it today at the gym. So I took it to the gym. Tell the truth. Okay, search the kids' pockets. Yeah, we'll get to that after. Remind me to talk to y'all about that. July 5th and just July 7th, she got a spray tan. July 10th, events. 10:55 a.m. Miss Cleveland was a walk-in client who had no appointment but wanted an IV. There were no other customers at that time, so she was admitted for the procedure. I don't know. I don't have any stretch marks, so I can't tell you. I have no experience. I somehow got this fat, got pregnant, had a baby, and still have no stretch marks. Make it make sense. 10:57 a.m. Miss Cleveland stated she had a high volume of cash inside her vehicle, so she walked back outside to lock it since Amber Johnson was going to be able to do the procedure. When she returned, she appeared to have papers with her. Why this is in there? When someone releases a PR statement and they are looking to deflect blame, or in my opinion, looking to deflect blame, I feel like they add things that are non-important details to deflect from what is actually pertinent. And I feel like lawyers do this the best. Lawyers and narcissists tend to do this the best. Maybe there's a correlation there. I don't know. You can judge for yourself. However, giving us information that is not even appropriate. Who cares that she had a large amount of cash in her vehicle so she went back outside? That is not pertinent to why she died. Like, So, no. So what generally happens is because they have like and I don't know about this place, but the place that I go to has, because it is a nationwide company, this franchise just happens to be owned by doctors that own a urgent care in my town, so they're in the same location. With that being said, they have a bunch of basic saline IV bags, 500 milliliters and 1 liter. They have a bunch of bags, and then they add whatever in a sterile environment. They add whatever you're going to get that day, and they make the bag for you. So it's I generally when I make an appointment, I generally tell them what I want, so that out of their like menu, so that they have it ready for me. But if you just walk in, she would have to go back and mix it up. For someone that is medically trained in how to do that and has a license, not a big deal. Not a big deal. However, or they're lying and they think adding information dilutes the lie. I have watched enough behavior panel to know that that might be a sign of not telling the truth. But as always, you need more than just one thing. But that might be possible as well. All right. 11:04, Miss Cleveland was placed on the IV treatment room. And prior to starting the IV, Amber Johnson walked outside to her vehicle and returned where the IV was set up, and administration of fluids began. 11:26, Amber Johnson walked out of the treatment room when the phone rang. 11:31, Amber Johnson walked back into the treatment room, and the IV bag still had solution inside, so she waited on the completion of the therapy. Miss Cleveland said she wasn't feeling well and was having trouble breathing, and her chest was tight. Amber Johnson said Miss Cleveland up to a sitting position and told her to take some deep breaths. Miss Cleveland lost consciousness and no pulse could be found. Amber Johnson started CPR. All right. I'm seeing the chat, and y'all are, Upon beginning CPR, Amber Johnson felt a hard object in Miss Cleveland's bra and located a vape pen hidden inside the bra. CPR was continued and the breathing was restored momentarily. Miss Cleveland again became unresponsive. Amber Johnson ran to the front counter to call 911 2 times, but the line was busy and not answered. Amber Johnson again continued with CPR and called 911 from her cell phone, which she probably should have done from the beginning. Just my hindsight being 2020, and continued CPR until help arrived. No law enforcement agency ever responded to the 911 call, even though the Wortham Police Department is within eyesight and approximately 1 block away from the back entrance to the med spa. A City of Wortham Water Department official arrived and took over CPR from Amber Johnson. That's weird. Another Wortham resident and Amber Johnson waved down the fire department personnel and later the city of Mexia EMS and started automatic CPR and left with Miss Cleveland. Amber bagged the blanket, sheet, and Miss Cleveland's personal items, the vape pen found in the bra, the IV bag, the IV tubing, and catheter placed in them in a locked cabinet until the police responded to the scene. The Luxe Med Spa by Amber Johnson was closed immediately, and Amber called Dr. Michael Gallagher to notify him of the incident. Dr. Gallagher was not at the scene the day of the incident, nor did he come to the scene that day, and has been publicly reported in some outlets. Okay, correcting the record, I can appreciate that. But, once again, there's just so many things that from the facility that I go to compared to this just seems off. At approximately 5:22 p.m., Chief of Police Butler contacted Amber and requested patient records and consent forms and wanted to take pictures to send to the emergency room at the hospital. All board matters with the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation have been settled, and there are no pending board actions regarding this incident other than the Texas Medical Board involving Dr. Michael Gallagher, MD, whose license was suspended without hearing and prior to obtaining the final autopsy and toxicology report. They're trying to make a big deal of the fact that she had a vape pen, yet she said she signed that medical history saying she had no medical problems. I'm like, it's a stretch, but there's some things that the defense might be able to use that's coming up in this. We have requested the vape pen concealed in Miss Cleveland's bra to be tested for controlled substances and have also requested the IV bag and related material be tested by the Texas Department of Public Safety lab as well. It's our understanding that it is being done to rule out further questions surrounding this tragedy. We have also requested the Freestone County Grand Jury subpoena the City of Mexia EMS run sheets to see what, if any, substances were administered by them en route to the hospital. It is our understanding this is also being done. It is just one of those situations where, like, it is just one of those situations that makes you look at, like, good for you for doing stuff, but at the same time, you're deflecting from the fact that she didn't have a license. And although sometimes you look at licensing boards and you're like, you're stupid, I hate you. Like, I look at Georgia's Department of licensing, when they approved my license and never actually told me. And all of a sudden I got an email saying your license is up or your license is expired when they never actually approved my license. Make that one make sense. My license sat there in pending status for 3 years until it finally said expired. And it was like, you never actually approved it, even though you cashed my check. But that's neither here nor there, and Georgia sucks. Which is one of the other reasons that I have evidence through motion, and I'm a corrective exercise specialist, and I no longer work in medicine because that. However, its final autopsy report indicated sudden cardiac death of uncertain etiology, as well as the postmortem toxicology being significant for tramadol and trazodone, neither of which were administered by Amber Johnson. Furthermore, there was no definitive anatomical or toxicological death. Cause of death identified. The report further states that cardiomegaly was identified and may be associated with cardiac arrhythmias and sudden cardiac death. It couldn't possibly be related to the fact that she had TPN electrolytes that are usually administered over the course of like 12 hours in a half an hour. It couldn't have anything to do with the fact that you administered something that you were not supposed to be administering. It couldn't have anything to do with that. It's all her fault. And I'm sorry. I, once again, not a doctor, not a nurse, but do you know how many people who I saw that were on TPN IV nutrition? For those of you who don't know what TPN is, it is complete IV nutrition. You are not eating anything by mouth. However, most of the people who were on TPN were also on a shit ton of medications through IV, including pain medications. So the fact that they were like tramadol and trazodone, okay, so like that's not tramadol and trazodone are not going to, and I need to have my best friend on here because she is a nurse. My lifelong best friend is a nurse. My childhood best friend is a nurse. Like, plenty of my friends are nurses, and I need to ask my nursing best friend a question about trazodone, tramadol, and TPN, because she worked in a hospital for a while. Now she's in urgent care, but yeah, the vape pen had nothing to do with the potassium chloride that hit her so fast. Kevin, how are you? I haven't seen you in so long. How are you? I had to give it to my wife until they fixed her pancreas. Yeah. Yes, I do have friends. I have lots of friends. Yeah, find the needle in the sharps box. Oh, right. Uh, sudden cardiac death may also be related to certain cardiac arrhythmias, which may be asymptomatic and include such entities as long QT syndrome, Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, or other potential lethal heritable cardiac channelopathies associated with structurally normal hearts. Generally, no abnormalities detected at autopsy to definitive diagnose these conditions. So they have her toxicology results, and the manner of death is undetermined, which is unfortunate because, like I said, not an attorney, but just looking at that, if I were her defense attorneys, I would be like, well, and we when we go in front of a jury, well, they can't determine the cause of death. So if they can't determine the cause of death, how can they prove that I unalived her? Not saying it's right, not saying I would believe it, but it's that reasonable doubt that you need to inject into a jury member to get a not guilty verdict. But, LPNs can administer an IV, but there are certain types of thing they cannot administer via IV, or certain IVs that starts out of the scope of practice has to be an RN for most of IVs. Yeah, this is just, yeah, her sodium, and I have to look in my binder to know what normal lab values are these days. Lab values are one of the first things that went when I stopped working because I didn't use them every day. So skill fade. The first thing to go is the thing you use the least. But her sodium was 145, her potassium was 10.1. So, I don't know. Yeah. Then there's a civil lawsuit where she's only needing 50.1% chance. That sounds like a more than fits. So even if she gets away with criminal, she'll still pay. So my thought, just getting the basic facts of this case, of if this goes to trial, if she is found not guilty, because remember, there's a difference between being found not guilty and innocent. Let's not mix words here. If she is found not guilty, it will most likely just be on the felony unaliving charge. I still believe that she will be found guilty no matter what on the practicing medicine without a license. I have a feeling that she will be found guilty of that no matter what. Like, I don't see any way that the jury would ever, and any jury would ever come back with a not guilty verdict on the practicing medicine without a license when she was administering IVs with medications that you need to have a license to administer. There's just, the math ain't mathin'. Yeah. The nurses here in Florida can't even draw blood right. I got stuck 5 times and they couldn't find the vein. Are you a hard stick naturally? Because, like, this girl's you can see my veins on camera. Like, I'm not a hard stick. Like, look at that. Oh, and we got balloons. Have a great day. it's just one of those situations where, we don't mm. So here we go. Thank you to the toxicology report for putting in the values and the limits themselves. So her sodium level was 145. The limit, and that's millimoles per liter. The limit's 50. The upper limit is 50. Potassium, she was at 10.1 millimoles per liter. The upper limit is 1. Chloride was 122. The upper limit was 50. And her nitrogen urea was 13.6 and the upper limit's 2. So her lab values were holy hell off the charts because of this IV. This is I wonder if the ambulance did a heart trace on her. I don't know what was done in the ambulance. It'll be interesting to see. So, and this is interesting to read. Since postmortem, her glucose was non-detectable, but here's why. Postmortem vitreous glucose concentrations decline rapidly after death, both in vivo and in vitro. Care should be taken in the interpretation of results. So, So it tells you what tramadol is. Tramadol is a synthetic opioid receptor agonist used for the management of moderate to moderately severe pain. This is the scientific names that a nurse would be able to pronounce, and I can't. Tramadol is tramadol metabolite. It has been reported as being present in some legal high or bath salt products, often in combination with nitrogen. That's why they're getting they want the vape pen tested because of this. The tramadol, her toxicology report has a tramadol metabolite, but it could also be a result of legal high or bath salt products. So, however, you still can't get over the fact, I can't get over the fact that she was administering TPN in 30 minutes. And it's TPN electrolytes. Okay. But that is something that is titrated over time. That is not something that is given in 30 minutes in a hospital setting. I've never seen someone get TPN in any concentration at all and it be just a 30 or 1 hour bag. It's something that you are getting all day, which makes me think that these concentrations were just way too much. Way too much. Yeah. The potassium was 10 times the upper limit. So potassium was 10.1. The upper limit is 1. So it was 10 times the limit. Sodium was almost 3 times the limit. But tramadol was way off the charts too, which it very well might have been in that vape pen. This is just me. This is not fact. This is just me taking a conjecture, or this is just wild guesses based on the numbers and how the half-life of tramadol. Just because even the trazodone was above the limit. It's just interesting to see this. So trazodone is a structurally atypical antidepressant. It is prescribed for the treatment of major depression. There is a wide range of trazodone dose requirements. However, total daily oral dosages should not exceed 400 milligrams. for outpatients and 600 milligrams for hospitalized patients. Steady state plasma concentrates following oral doses of 300 milligrams of immediate release ranged from 0.8 plus or minus 0.3 to 3.1 plus or minus 0.8. In older patients, range will be extended to 5.0 micrograms per milliliter. The blood to plasma ratio is approximately 0.6. Not any of that applies. It's just interesting to the sciencey people if you are that kind of person. Analysis summary. All the following tests were performed for this case. For each test, the compounds were listed, included in the scope. Reporting limit listed for each compound represents the lowest concentration in the compound that will be reported as being positive. If the compound listed as undetected is present above the reported limit. Please refer to the positive findings sections of the report for those compounds that were identified as being present. Yeah. They're putting her toxicology report in here, and I don't know if they're doing it. Like, this to me has self-preservation written all over it. Blame the victim. Like, yeah. A close review of the toxicology report shows Miss Cleveland had lethal quantities of tramadol, trazodone, as well as other prescription medications in her system. That still doesn't account for the high potassium that can cause heart problems. They're failing, or they're purposely avoiding talking about the fact that high potassium levels can lead to cardiac arrest. That is a well-known fact. It's a consensus among most doctors. If you ask them, they will watch your potassium levels very, very closely. Sorry. We have an obsession with washing our hands lately, and the bubbles from the soap. The problem is we like to try to flood the bathroom. So if you see me run off camera really, really fast, it's because she refuses to turn the water off, and I have to make sure that not only my water bill stays down, but my bathroom stays intact. Yeah, well-known fact for elevated potassium levels. It's yeah. The literature strongly advises against mixing tramadol and trazodone because of the potential lethal effects. The high potassium levels reflect the tramadol abuse. Do what? What? Not necessarily, and I call BS. Yes. My brain just, I personally think little troll is running in there, turning on the water, and little squid gets blamed. Yes, while she's standing in front of the sink with wet hands. Yeah. Harry, I'm going to call BS on that one. All right. What is most significant is the presence of O-tramadol. Mixing tramadol with O-tramadol is also something she should not have been doing. There is no proof that she was doing that because it's a metabolite. You a lawyer is making interpretations about a toxicology report and not a doctor. That's my first problem. Stay in your lane. What do we say? There's two things that are free in life: the ability to mind your own damn business and the ability to stay in your own damn lane. A doctor or a lawyer talking about the contents of a toxicology report like he is a doctor and presenting things as fact when he is not in fact a doctor. He might not even be a good lawyer. We don't know. Because as we've talked about, just because you are a lawyer, Bruce is a lawyer. Gingras is a lawyer. So just because you are a lawyer does not mean you are a smart person. It's not your fault. I appreciate the teaching her to wash her hands after she goes to the bathroom. That is a great habit. Everybody needs to do it. However, just like with her use of lip gloss, we're working on the moderation. Yeah, they have to blame the victim. There's no one else but them. That's very true. Let me Miguel Squid's drink. It is sparkling ice Starburst. So it actually does not have any artificial flavors or colors to get that flavor. Or it has potassium benzoate. It is a preservative, but it has no artificial colors, English, to get that color, which I can appreciate. All right. Miss Cleveland's toxicology report indicates that all of these drugs were found in her body. It also appears Miss Cleveland may have been abusing designer drugs the day she presented at Luxe. It appears through her own social media postings that Miss Cleveland had a battle with drug use and maintaining sobriety. Many families suffer the same battle, oftentimes with same tragic results. I figured it out. A light bulb just went off. Remember how I said before they mentioned the large amount of cash, and I said it was an unrelated detail? To us, it's an unrelated detail because we're focusing on the fact that she is practicing law or practicing medicine without a license. However, they put that in there for a very specific reason, and this is what makes lawyers sleazy. No offense. Yeah. Apple juice, green tea extract, vitamin E, niacinamide, calcium, B5, B6, biotin, cyanobalamin, vitamin B12. That's what is in here. Sucralose. But only it's got sucralose in it. So it's not great, but it is reaching, but it puts it connects the two dots, because when you try to convince the world that this lady had a drug problem and then they remember that she had a large amount of cash in a society where no one really keeps large amounts of cash anymore, and certain businesses are only done in cash for obvious reasons, it can make her appear as if she was keeping that large amount of cash to buy street pharmaceuticals. So by putting that seemingly unimportant detail in here, that was deliberate to make her look like a drug dealer. Or I'm just, All right. So they have her repeated drug-related incidents in here. Those include the following charges and dispositions under the name of Jennifer Jo Williams, who is the same person. Indictment in Galveston County for possession of methamphetamine. August 2018, and sentencing her to 180 days in Galveston County Jail. Indictment in Freestone County, September 28th, 2011. Possessing methamphetamine, placing a child in imminent danger of death, bodily injury, physical or mental impairment. Count 2, same thing, but placing a second child. Count 3, placing a third child in imminent danger. A judgment of 5 years probation on all 3 counts was entered June 4th, 2012. Freestone County, September 28th, 2011, for tampering with physical evidence. 10 years deferred probation, entered on June 4th, 2012. Indictment in Freestone County, same day, September 28th, 2011, for possession with intent to deliver methamphetamine more than 4 grams, less than 200 grams. Deferred probation of 10 years was entered June 4th, 2012. There will be no further comments in the media about this incident until after complete investigation is done and the case is over. However, that does not mean the slanderous and libelous statements being made about Amber Johnson. They couldn't even spell her name right. Amber Johnson. Once again, does not mean that lawyers are smart, because if I was signing this, even if I wasn't the one who wrote it, I'd proofread and make sure that my client's name was spelled right. That seems like something really stupid, right? Will be overlooked or tolerated. There will be no posting on Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, same fucking thing, or any social media website on behalf of our client. Instead, there will be court filings where people asserting claims have the right to be tried in a fair and balanced setting where credible evidence can be weighed. Until such time, we suggest that everyone take a deep breath and wait on all testing to be concluded before reaching an uninformed conclusion. How about an indictment? How about an indictment? Yeah. I'm just, certain things just kind of get under your skin, and this is one of them. This is what makes me look at lawyers like, you are slightly awful. More than slightly awful. Let's see. I don't care. All right. So that was a lot to unpack. However, this is just where we get very touchy, because now, that was in 2023. They have not said anything. Now your client is being indicted and charged with felony unaliving, among other things. There is a sense of accountability that the world needs to have, that the world does not have. The world does not have. And this practicing medicine without a license, it is very personal, and also has dangerous consequences. So how I'm linking the two channels together in this is on the other channel. We have started to do things like, who do I trust? We are going to be doing an AMA over there, Ask Me Anything, on Thursday at 2:30. Depends. Mr. Squid has some stuff going on, so I need to work out the schedule when he needs me to take care of something. However, another topic that we are going to be handling over on that channel, where I use my medical background to help people make informed decisions on their own health, is when you decide to go to a place like this and get an IV. Here, let me take this off the screen for a second. When you decide to go to a medical spa or any wellness, quote unquote, spot, where and how do you make an informed decision on your own health about who these people are? So, Jennifer's Law is where this gets very interesting. So, Jennifer's Law was passed in 2025 as a result of this case. At the time that this law was passed and enacted, I think it was enacted last October, effective September 1st of 2025. There was no criminal charges pending at that point. So, why it exists, we obviously know. We've already talked about it. The patient died after an IV treatment at a medical spa. So in Texas, it's exposed serious gaps in oversight and patient safety, which begs the question, what other states, if Texas didn't have much oversight for people giving IVs and random drugs and vitamin cocktails that can be harmful if given in the wrong doses, she did not have the right paperwork for her LLC. It was supposed to be an LLP or LLCP or PLLC or something like that. She was not supposed to be the sole owner or the majority owner of a medical facility because she was not a licensed medical provider. And hey, Stats, how are you? Bobby, the judge needs to let me out of the courtroom right now. Here's the thing. What it targets is med spa businesses, IV therapy businesses, non-hospital treatment settings, which are very, very popular these days. I use one myself. But I made sure that when I went in, and I knew the owners of mine because I went to the gym with them. I went to the gym with the doctor who's the owner. So he's an emergency medicine physician. Like, I had that rapport with him already, but I knew doctor-owned facility staffed by RNs, most of which worked in this hospital in my city. Most of them worked in the ER, and they were doing this as like a part-time side gig. Or they worked in the urgent care and would do this as a part-time thing on the side. So it's all about who you trust and knowing the backgrounds of the people who you are injecting yourself with things, especially Botoxes, lip fillers, cheek injections. But any of the cosmetic stuff is also included in this. Here's where I had problems with Texas, and I don't know if this is a law in Georgia. I have to look it up. Key changes requires physician oversight, as if being able to administer TPN and NAD and things like, I'm having a loss of the nausea medication. Heidel, help me out. You know what I'm talking about. That being able to administer these things needs to be administered by a doctor or a licensed medical provider. It seems very crazy to me that in 2025 is now when Texas decided to have physician oversight of IV treatments. Yuckless. No, it's not Fenugreek. It's I'll think of it like right after the stream. It's no snipe, no spew. Zofran. The IV place where I go you can get Zofran, but it requires doctor intervention. You have to be seen by the doctor in order to get that in your IV. So the fact that, I don't know if that's Georgia wide or that's just the company that I go with, but it seems like for this to happen in 2025, Texas, where have you been all my life? Limits who can administer IV treatments. Strengthens licensing and supervision rules. This seems to be very, very obvious, but Texas just figured it out in 2025 after a reaction to someone's tragic unaliving in 2023. And that's goes back to another thing that we are talking about, and this is a crossover with my other channel, and I can't actually do a crossover with the other channel because I am the other channel. But we are discussing things such as awareness, being able to advocate for yourself, and knowing who's putting a needle in your arm and what backgrounds they have and what education and licensing they have is a very important thing. And why it matters, medical level treatment requires medical level safety. That should be common sense. However, remember, common sense is a curse word these days. When you use it, if you want to pull up the original bill as it passed, look up HB 3749. Okay. Sorry, the sink turned back on. I said, turn off the sink. And she said, no, I don't like it. Our new phrase is, no, I don't like it. No, I don't like it. So, yeah. Idle calls tomato a fruit just to justify fruits on a pie. You know, but this just shows that if a law had to be created, something was already broken. New Jersey. All right. So on this channel, we talk about authority and trust. And you need to understand the level and oversight and risk of anything you do. And if you want more of the breakdown of all that, please subscribe to my second channel. Please hit the like on this stream and share it out. If you not only think that this topic needs more attention and this case needs more attention, but also you want to be like, Texas, what is wrong with you? Please share this out to people who you think would be interested in it. Also, please subscribe to my other channel. Thursday, we are doing an AMA. Tomorrow, I will probably be with Spawn and maybe My Pretty, depending on the scheduling, talking what the crap documents and what the hell situation. However, I hope that I was able to break this down in a somewhat easy to understand way, because at the end of the day, the medical situation in the world is complex. Medical stuff is not to be taken lightly, and when you read articles and you're reading articles about what was in IVs and things like that, you're like, what are these things? So my goal is not only to break it down, but to break it down in a way that everybody can understand it. More importantly, on that other channel, on ETM, because ETM is where we take complex channels or complex topics and break them down into a level of knowledge for the everyday person to pick what works for them and input it into their lives. Yes, and I do go by my first name over there. So if you haven't subscribed to that channel, please consider. Probably next week. I just needed a break from all things dramatic. Um, I I really want to focus on my other channel. Um, I really, 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 really want to focus on my other channel. I this is See, it's a weird conundrum for me because that is my passion project. That is where I feel like I could work on that channel every day. I could talk to you about topics on that channel every day. I love this channel. But things started to get a little bit too dramatic and not things started to get a little too personal. Like I wasn't talking about topics that interested me. I was talking about topics that interested a select few people and that I started to get very uninterested in and burned me out and got boring because it was the same thing every day. And it was like you can only talk about drama so long when and you don't want to get personally involved before people try to personally involve you. And I'm just not having that. So I will be focusing a lot more on that other channel because at the end of the day, that is my career. That is what I want to do. Also, when summer hits, we're going to have to rethink the schedule because I am working on a business plan at this point in time to produce to the owner of the gym I go to because of what we have been working on, her and I, for the past 2 months. There has been people who have asked if that was going to become part of her business, and I would love that from my own satisfaction and knowing that I'm doing something that I love and also helping my community. So I am working on a business plan to make it not only affordable and positive for the people in the community, but worthwhile for both her and I as a business owner. So with that being said, I am going to call it a day on this channel because I have to get ready for work. However, we are going to see where I can send you guys today. So let's see. And thank you to everybody who has hit that like button. If you haven't hit that like button, please consider it. This topics like these and the accountability that comes with it are things that I really, really, really want to stress, be passionate about, and all of that. However, we are going over to Mo in the Deep End. Trigger warning, she is still covering the Justice for Athena, the Athena Stroud case. It is a trigger warning case, and it does involve the tragic and unfortunate and not so great unaliving of a young girl. And the defense is making him seem like it's everybody else's fault. So, with that being said, even if you can't stay and that is a trigger warning case for you and you cannot tolerate it, please give Mo a thumbs up and engage with her chat for a minute before you hop out. She is working very, very hard on that case. And it does take a mental toll on the creator to talk about things like that consistently. So give her some love in her chat and go give her stream a thumbs up before you head on out. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great one. Bye.